Testing. Hello? Why my cats gotta fight right now? So basically, one psychic cursed me and the other one sent me in the wrong direction. Let's talk about it. What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Let's start off by saying a prayer for my audio here because this is the second time I'm recording this video. I recorded it once. I felt like the audio was trash and I had been meaning to start using these mics that I bought. So I finally set it up. This was my motivation to set it up to try to get my life together. So today, clearly, as you can tell from the title, I just feel compelled to tell this story that I have. Oh my goodness. I didn't even realize that it happened this way until I looked back and my husband was the one that pointed it out to me. But it's kind of crazy. I do not know if you guys could hear my cats literally scratching as they're running on the hardwood floor. Anyways, basically one psychic predicted something for me and the complete opposite happened. They predicted something good and something terrible ended up happening to me. And another psychic predicted that I would be exactly where I'm at now. And I still feel like I'm searching for God and trying to figure out where I'm meant to be because I don't know, this just is not where I feel my peace long term, but we'll get into all that. If you don't know me, my name is Abigail, or I go by Abby, and I am currently a school nurse. I have been a registered nurse for, I can count down basically based on the pandemic years. It's been just past 4 years now. Since about 2019, 2020, I became a nurse. And I became a nurse basically just because I didn't know what else I wanted to do with my life, which is why I ended up with talking to the psychics anyway. So when I went to college, I was undecided. I didn't know what I wanted to do. That basically becomes the story for this entire video. I don't know where I want to go. I don't know what I want to do. And so I'm constantly searching. But people kept telling me, you seem like you have the personality of someone who should be a nurse. You're very caring, nurturing, all that good stuff. And I was in college trying to get in and out. I had already changed my major like twice. So I just wanted to pick something and do what I was supposed to do to make everybody proud. So that's what I ended up doing. I graduated with my nursing degree and I become a nurse. During the pandemic, I become very, very burnt out working as a pandemic nurse. I was working the PM shift, 3 to 11:30, 5 days a week, 1 day off at a time. Very, very miserable. No prospects of a better anything, better shift, better life, better work-life balance, better mental health. None of that. Just depression. So I think I started in April of 2020 and then I quit by October of 2021 because I have an amazing friend who started travel nursing. And so she offered, she had already been doing it since January. Like she quit by January of 2021 and it took me till October to quit. And so she had already been traveling. So she said, come along with me. And so that's exactly what I did. So it kind of gave me the balance, the work-life balance, if you will, that I was looking for, because at least I could have a countdown. Like, okay, I'll work for 12 weeks. And then if I want to extend, I can. But if not, I have the opportunity to quit and just take a couple months off. I'll make enough money. And that pandemic money was looking great at the time. So that's what, I decided to do. So I go off to LA. Los Angeles was my first travel contract. It was very scary at first, but it was great. But at the time, I was so miserable and depressed and sad being a bedside nurse and just not knowing my purpose and what I really wanted to do. I explained this in my last video. It just feels incongruent. You're doing one thing, but you feel like you're meant to be doing something else, but my cat literally just fell into my child's toy basket. Yeah, I was saying in my last video that it's just incongruent. Like you're doing one thing, but you feel like you're meant to do something else. And I just wasn't happy doing bedside forever. But I can't even speak to what it would have been if it wasn't for the pandemic and working that shift that I was working for so long, working a PM shift, which is miserable to me because in reality, 3 to 11:30 really means you're working from like 2 to at least midnight, maybe 12:30, because you try to get there early, prepare yourself mentally on your way there, and you get there early to look up your patients, and then you never leave on time. Sometimes you leave as late as 1:30 in the morning, depending if you even got a chance to chart. It was just miserable every single day. And I'm a morning person, and so it just made it 10 times worse. So I remember being at home and just sitting on my couch, just dreading and counting down the seconds until I have to go back to work the next day. And I hated it. So at least with this, I felt like I was able to work a day shift position. I was able to make more money, and I was able to at least count down to a few weeks of when I would have some time off before I would do it again. So I'm in LA and I'm working with my friend. And first of all, my goodness, watch my video when I found out that I was unexpectedly no, it wasn't that one. I think in my previous video, I talk about like when I was unexpectedly pregnant, just how sad I was whenever I had to leave home. When I left, I had just gotten married like 4 months before that. And so I was just really sad leaving my husband, leaving my cats. And I just realized I'm such a homebody person. Like I just love being at home. I love taking care of my family. I love being around my family. And it just made me sad. I didn't have a baby yet at that point, but it just made me sad to be away from home, my creature comforts, my city, Chicago. I just knew that traveling for vacation is fun and all, but like work, like traveling it's not for me. So I got there, I was really, really sad. And that made me even more sad and lost. So I'm like, man, I hate bedside nursing, and I really hate being away from my family. So what am I doing? I'm there, and time is going by. I'm counting down the weeks until I can be done with this yet again. Basically, this contract was from November, like say about November 1st to Christmas. So it was all of November, almost all of December. That pandemic money, I feel like the contract you were making like at least $5,000-$6,000 a week for day shift, and even more for night shift, and even more if you were like working in the ICU. I was working on step down ICU, but if you're working in the ICU, it was even more money. So I was like, let me at least go and dry my tears with some dollar bills, but the dollar bills were not soaking up my tears, I swear. Yeah, I got through the first about 4 weeks, and I was spending all this expensive money to fly home for Thanksgiving. Because imagine paying, within a few weeks for a plane ticket to fly from LA to Chicago during Thanksgiving. $1 million is pretty much what that ticket cost. So I was preparing to fly home. And I remember I was flying home the day before Thanksgiving, or like the day of Thanksgiving. Like that morning, I maybe took a red eye or something. I think it was that Monday I was at work, and I had a patient who was an older lady. Don't even remember why she was there, but she was getting discharged that day. And I may have had her like a day or two before that. And when she was getting discharged, I was on the phone with her daughter and explaining to her daughter like discharge instructions and medications. And the daughter was talking about picking her up. And so I'm giving her instructions on where to pick the mother up from. And so I help the transporter take the patient down to the daughter, and I meet the daughter, and she thanks me. She's like, thank you so much for all these things you've done for my mother. This is amazing. Like, you're a great nurse. And I'm like, thank you. It's fine. And she goes into just kind of feeling me out and just looking at me. The first thing she did was like guess my zodiac sign, whatever, which no, whatever. We don't even talk about those things anymore. But she was guessing my zodiac sign, and she was right. And at the time, I was heavily into all of those things. And I just want to pause this story at this moment and say, at this point, it was more than just psychics I was seeking out. I was doing all the enneagram things, looking for my birth chart. I was so desperate to know the exact time I was born. And I think I ended up finding a document. Like, my parents didn't remember my birth time, but I found like this form that said it. So I was looking up all this stuff about myself, and just you find yourself spending so much time searching and searching and searching and searching for these things, but you're still lost at the end of the day. You're still sad, and you're still anxious, and you're still depressed at the end of the day. Like, that was me, and I just had no peace. I was just constantly searching for the answer. And angel numbers, all these things that just don't equate to God. Like, where are these things even coming from? Like, what is the origin of these things? Makes no sense. Like, the person I think who started angel numbers denounced the whole thing, and that is just a really new age practice, and it's not coming from God at all whatsoever. So I'm searching for all these things, and then this psychic pops up, and she tells me she's a psychic. thanks me for taking care of her daughter. And she tells me, I should do a reading for you. I just have this feeling that something amazing is going to happen for you. In the next 30 days, something amazing is going to happen. Like maybe you'll have a baby or something. I don't know. And I was like, no, I don't think that's it. But she just kept saying something amazing is going to happen. Something amazing is going to happen. We exchanged numbers. I feel like we may have sent 1 or 2 text messages, and then she kind of ghosted me. And I just never heard from her within the next few days. But then a few days after I talked to her, what ended up happening was the very first YouTube video I ever posted, which was about how I had a patient a couple of days after I talked to this, psychic. And by the way, that psychic was saying that her mother was also a psychic as well, but she doesn't do it as much anymore. She's a lot older, but she taught her everything she knows. But either way, a few days after I took care of that patient and that happened, I had another patient who I had been having on and off for the past few weeks. He was HIV positive, a really young guy, and he was very sick, and I was trying to help him on the bedpan. So I had him on the bedpan. I gave him some privacy for a few minutes, and then he let me know when he was ready. So I came back in, and I was rolling him off the bedpan to clean him up. And I guess the plastic in the bedpan kind of flicked up a little bit, like it changed the shape. Just like imagine like a plastic water bottle. Like when you squeeze it, you can hear the water. Like, this is a little graphic. Sorry if this grosses you out, but a little bit of poop just splashed into my eye. Watch that first YouTube video that I ever posted that I go really deep into it. But that's what ends up happening to me like maybe 2 days later at most, after this psychic predicts something amazing is going to happen to me. That's the only thing that happened to me in the next 2 days after that. So basically when that happened, I was freaked out. I went to rush to wash my eye out, and I asked my charge nurse like what I should do. And she sent me to the health center. So I go to the health center, like the employee health center. And I keep forgetting the name of that doctor. What is the name of that doctor? I think it's the infectious disease doctor. So they sent me to the employee health center. I was evaluated by an infectious disease doctor who also just so happened to be, because he's a doctor for that hospital entity in general. So he was also overseeing inpatients and working in the employee health center. So he also was very familiar with that patient's case. And he decided to put me on the antiviral medications that prevent you from getting HIV because the patient had history of bloody stool. And so I don't think there's ever been a case in history where someone has gotten HIV through their eye or through poop, but it was blood in the poop, so that's why he was concerned. But either way, neither myself nor the doctor wanted me to be the first person to discover that that's how you can get HIV. So he decided to put me on the medication anyway. And so because I was taking it, I got really like sick and weak. Like my white blood cell count went down quickly. So I was supposed to take it from, I don't even know, either 4 or 6 weeks, but I'm pretty sure I stopped after like maybe 3, close to 4 weeks, just because my white count went down a lot taking it. And this is how it's crazy to me. And this still doesn't make sense, which is why I don't know who is this, is God, the devil, the Holy Spirit. I feel like the Holy Spirit telling me this. I don't even remember which eye it was, but like I'll insert some pictures too. It's graphic. If you don't want to see these things, skip through. But I got the poop in one eye. I go home for Thanksgiving, probably about the next day or the day after that, and I was fine. But then on the flight home, like as my husband was driving me to the airport, I started to feel discomfort in the other eye that I did not even get poop in. And I ended up getting this extremely terrible viral pink eye. And the other eye that didn't even get poop in, it, that doesn't even make sense. Within a few days, like I can't even explain it to you. But what kind of freaky stuff is that? Because I even had to go back to the doctor, to the health center, and I made an appointment, and they were giving me these eye drops, but antibiotic eye drops work for conjunctivitis, which is pink eye. That is bacterial. That does not work for viral pink eye. And so my pink eye just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I was doing my research on it, and it's 2 different things. So I honestly just, after a week, those eye drops didn't do anything but like burn my eye. And so I was just off work all this time. When I came back, it was really sad, because then I went there to make all this money. I don't know what the heck was going on, but I didn't even think about the fact that psychic had told me something was going to happen to me, saying it was positive. But then this happened. Like I didn't put two and two together until well after the fact, like, or well over a year after the fact. So watch that first YouTube video if you want way more details on what happened with that. But basically it was sad because like I said, I went there to make money. I'm just so lost in the world. But I did want to add that God is so good, because in that time where I'm searching and searching and searching for him and trying to figure out what the heck I'm supposed to do, he was still coming to me in those times. And I have never been to church so much in my life, listened to so many sermons so much in my life, listened to so much worship music in my life, pray so much in my life. I was doing all these things that actually do honor God, but at the same time, I just wanted answers now. So I was searching through angel numbers and enneagrams and horoscopes and zodiac, whatever you want to call it. Like I was searching through all these things at the same time. And even though I was doing all these things that weren't of the Lord, he was still there and I was praising him so much. But at the time, you couldn't tell me that the two were separated. Sometimes I would refer to him as God. Other times it would just be the universe. And I was just so lost and confused. But it's just a strange concept where I look back at that moment and I feel like Jesus was sitting right next to me the whole time, watching me as I was confused and figuring it out and coming to him. But I never felt like I was alone, but I was just so confused. Another bad thing that ended up happening, I think in another YouTube video, I talked about the travel nurse recruiter from hell, which I don't want to say that that's a bad thing to say about her. But at the time, she basically ended up getting my contract ended early because at first, we told her we wanted to extend, and then we said, never mind, we don't want to extend. And so when we said we didn't want to extend, she ended up sending an email that confused the hospital into thinking I actually wanted to leave early. So the last week I was finally able to go back to work and at least make some money while I was there. I didn't have access to anything because she had my contract canceled. They were like, oh, well, we got an email from your recruiter saying that you were done and you were leaving early. And so because of that, it was too late. Like, why are they going to go through all this trouble and putting me back in their system and I'm leaving with it? Like I only had 2 shifts left after that. So thank God for my friend that I traveled with, because she was able to put her foot down, because the travel nurse recruiter, when I explained this to her, basically told me it wasn't her problem. It wasn't her fault. So my friend stood up for me and was like, no, sister girl, it is your problem. It is your fault. And you're going to figure out a way that your company is going to pay my friend because it was your fault. So all this stuff was happening. And so I come home, I'm lost. I see another psychic during that time. This was January. And it was a over the phone psychic. She came recommended by a friend. And so I'm talking to the psychic and she tells me all these weird things that don't even make sense. Like, yeah, girl, you're going to get a parking ticket. And I'm like, okay, like, I never ended up getting some parking or speeding tickets she was talking about. And then she says, you're going to go back to school. Mind you, I've been sick of school since the day I decided to go to college, and I could not figure out what I wanted to major in anyways. I never wanted to go back to school. I've never been a person that wanted to go and get their doctorate, become a nurse practitioner. That just wasn't a path that interested me. And if you watch my other previous video where I admitted I'm embarrassed to be a stay-at-home mom, that should definitely give you a hint that me going back to school has never been in the cards for me. Like that's never been a desire for me, because I've always felt like I wanted to be a homemaker. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, a stay-at-home wife. I've always felt that way, but it's just financially we haven't been able to make that happen yet, but that's always been my desire. So even at that point, I was miserable doing bedside nursing. When I was in college, I never had a desire to do anything big scholarly wise. That just wasn't for me. So she tells me I'm going back to school, and I said, sis, you're crazy. I don't want to do that. No, if I do anything, it definitely won't be going back to school. She said, I don't know, I'm telling you, girl, you're gonna be in the school. So that was January. February, I start another travel contract, which was a local contract technically, but in travel nursing, if you don't know, as long as you work at, I think it's 90 miles, like I'm pretty sure it's 90 miles. You have to work 90 miles from your home address in order for it to count as a travel contract. So I worked like an hour north of Chicago. So it was just over 90 miles from my house. And it was 3 days a week, 3 12s a week. So I was able to make it happen and just do it. And it was a very nice hospital that I really enjoyed myself at that hospital for the time being, for someone who doesn't want to do bedside nursing. So I did that from February to June, renewed the contract through August. At that point in August, my husband and I were thinking about buying condos. We were thinking about shopping for places to live and all this stuff. Rewind back to me being in the middle of that contract around April time. my friend brought up the idea of being a school nurse to me. She currently works as a clinician in a school. So she brought up the idea to me like, oh, you should consider being a school nurse. And I said, sis, you're crazy. I'd never do anything like that, but I'll keep that in mind just in case, because clearly I'm lost in my life and my career anyway. So I'm just going to keep that in my back pocket if I ever need it. So I think about it, put it on the back burner, whatever. So that was like around April time. I'm in the middle of this, new local travel contract where I was able to stay at home. Then I end that contract. And then I'm thinking, I don't know why it hit me all of a sudden. I think I was looking at my finances. We were trying to buy a home. I posted another YouTube video about how much student loan debt I have. So that came to the forefront in my mind as I'm trying to buy a house, and you have to get pre-approved, and they're looking at, your income to debt ratio and your student loans. And I'm looking at that, and I see so many people on like YouTube that were getting out of student loan debt and how it's helped them. And I felt all of a sudden a strong conviction to pay it off. So I was like, you know what? I know I hate bedside nursing, but I'm going to work my butt off for a few years, make a lot of money, pay off all my student loans, save up a good amount of money to buy a home, and that's what we're going to do. And that was my plan towards the end of that local travel contract when August hit. So I pick up another contract with my friend. We're going to go travel together. We got a contract in Seattle. And a couple days before I was going to go to Seattle, I realized, oh, my period was supposed to start this week because it was only a 3-week contract. So I was like, ooh, my period's going to come the week before I go. I don't even have to worry about that when I go. But my period never came. I take a test 2 days before I'm supposed to leave. Boom, I'm pregnant with this little cutie right here that's now like, she's almost 17 months old now. So yeah, I was pregnant with her. Didn't even know it. I decided to still go on the contract because it was only 3 weeks, but I found out I was pregnant right before I hit the 5-week mark. Like I was 4 weeks along when I took the test. And then that 5th week, sis, let me tell you, I was sick as a dog. I couldn't hold any food down. I was vomiting constantly. This was actually the first job that I ever had to work a night shift because I was working all PM shifts when I was working a steady job in the hospital. And then when I traveled to LA, it was day shift. That other travel contract that was a local travel contract was day shift. So I picked up this night shift contract that was 3 weeks, just like a conversion. They were doing like an Epic conversion in their hospital, converting to the Epic charting system. So I was going to help them with that. But I ended up coming home, like I left on a Saturday and I flew home by like Wednesday or Thursday or something. And I was just so sick. I got home. I was on my couch. I'm like, this very couch, but it was at our apartment. And I'm just like, what am I going to do with my life now? I need something steady. I need to do something. And I refuse to do bedside. Lo and behold, I think about it and I'm like, I just knew, like I prayed about it and I just knew, like, do the school nursing thing. I still didn't think about that psychic telling me I was going back to school. Not when my friend offered me the job, and not even when I decided to go ahead and apply for it and do it. So that's what I did. I became a school nurse. I applied by like October and I started in December to be a school nurse, December 2022. So I was like 4 or 5 months along at that point. Gave birth in May of 2023. It didn't even occur to me until, I don't even know, me and my husband were just having a random conversation. And I was talking about it to him because he didn't even know I was like seeing psychics and doing that stuff at the time. And he told me like, well, I guess she was kind of right. You did end up back in the school. You are working in the school at least. And I was like, oh my gosh, you are so right. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together like that. Now that I am working in a school as a school nurse, the state of Illinois requires that you go back to school to become a certified school nurse. They don't give 2 craps that you just spend all these years and all this money and all this time and energy passing your nursing boards. No. They want you to go back and get another silly nursing degree, which from the nurses I've worked with, I've heard that this was a new law that was passed in the 90s where nurses were working just fine without being a certified school nurse. And then they create this program and they're like, yeah, y'all got to do that now. And so if you don't do it, like your salary drops. So now I'm making significantly less than what I should be making as a nurse just because I need to go back to school to become a certified school nurse, which is exactly what that psychic predicted that I was going to be doing. So here I am, lost in the world, still trying to figure out where I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to be doing. And I wanted to say that's why I felt like I wasn't ready, or it was no point in talking about this because I'm still in it right now. I'm still working as a school nurse, but I can only talk about how blessed I am to be here. Like, I've come to realize this, but I have one of the best assignments that you could possibly have as a school nurse. I have an amazing small school where I'm able to be at full time, and I love it where I'm at. School nursing can be very stressful, especially where I work at. They're very short nurses, so they're constantly nurses are being floated around to different schools all the time. You may be assigned to 2 or 3 schools and be responsible for all these caseloads on different schools. And that can be very, very, very stressful. And I've been blessed that, I don't know if you guys can hear my husband playing his game in the background, all excited. Don't mind him. So when I was hired as a school nurse, the girl who trained me, she was assigned to 2 schools. So her second school, she was only at 2 days a week. The other one 3 days a week. The one she was at 2 days a week, they were going to give me that school and just put me there 2 days a week and probably assign me to another school as well. But this kid that had been out of school for 3 years finally came back, and he has diabetes and cystic fibrosis, and he needs a nurse all day long. So the same month in January of 2023, when I get off orientation, he comes back to school for the first time, and he's at that very school. They need a nurse full time there now. So now it's me, like it's all up to me. And I was gifted this like from God. Like I just couldn't even believe that I was blessed enough to get that. And I've been there ever since. So that was January of 2023. And so it's almost been just crazy. Has it almost been 2 years already? Yeah, because my child is 1.5 and I started before she was born. So yeah, right now it's October. So in December, it'll make 2 years that I've been there. And I've been blessed to be at this one school. So there's that. But I just feel like I'm still in it, and I'm blessed to be where I'm at, and God can bless you wherever you are. But I just feel like it's not, like there's more to my story. I'm meant to be, I don't know where I'm meant to be. I'm still praying on it. I'm fasting, I'm praying, doing all the things, trying to align myself with the Lord, Jesus Christ himself, and just honor him and figure out where God wants me to be, because I don't know, I've always just felt this incongruence of long term. Like I talked about in my previous videos about how hard it is to be away from my baby. And I truly don't know. Like I would love to have a discussion in the comments with anyone who watches this video. If you have a perspective on being a mother, a parent in general, if you're a man watching this, being a parent in general, and just having to be away from your kids so much, and just allowing the world to raise your children, allowing someone else to raise your child or children, and just doing it at such a young age. Because like now that Mia's, over 1 year old, it's a little, I enjoy her having relationships with others, and that's another bright side. I've really enjoyed watching her relationship with my husband blossom. They love being around each other. They're so silly. They have so much fun. But when he's busy working all the time and I'm the one that's home with her, she just becomes attached to me. But now that I've been having to work every morning, they have their morning time together because he works night shift. And I felt like I was intruding on something the other day when I stayed home from work on Friday, and she was like, "Oh, you're here?" The way she looked at me was like, "I'm usually with my daddy at this time of day, but okay, you're great." And I love that, actually, because I love them being able to spend way more time together than they were when I was off, like for summer break. And then I was off, I had like a delayed maternity leave I was able to take in like March to May, and then I ended up taking the summer off too because it was summer break. But yeah, that's another blessing I see too. And God is just changing my perspective in it, and I feel so blessed to be where I'm at. But I'm just praying for more, because it's just so difficult, and I want to have more kids, and I don't ever want, people leave kids at 6 weeks old, and I just pray for you, and I pray for your child to cover you both in the blood of Jesus, and that you're both okay. And just, if it is what it is and you're happy about it, then so be it. But if you're not, then I just pray for God to bring you peace, because it is not easy just leaving your child. And the United States just normalizes this. Like other countries do not do this. It is an instinct, a maternal, paternal instinct, whatever, like to want to be with your child, and to have to drop off an innocent infant to like wherever you're going to take them to watch them, your child, this person you just grew, this human. It's just so difficult to comprehend. And life is so short, and God gives you these blessings, these people, like I was blessed to be able to carry this child and to raise this child, and I want to be able to spend time with her. Every time I see a newborn or these little infants, I look at my child and I cannot believe that she's not that anymore. Like I just can't even believe that. And this time is going to keep going by so quickly, and I just don't want to miss it. And I want to be able to enjoy these years and not feel like I'm stressed doing this, and this. And also, I don't know why I feel called to do YouTube. I love doing this. I've never even been I never considered myself a creative person or a person who does photography or anything like that. But here I am doing this because I just feel compelled to do it. I don't know why, but either way, I know there's more to my story and I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm still exactly where the psychic told me I was going to be, but you know what? That's what I forgot. In my other previous video, I talked about Bible verses. Specifically, it is, oh gosh, I know it's Deuteronomy. Let me find it. I just feel so confused, I guess, because I just can't wait to see what God is going to do in my life. Like, he just sitting there waiting to show me what he's going to do and how he's going to show out. In the Bible, Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 9 through 14. I'll just read it, but I'll put some of the most important parts of it up here. Not the whole thing because it is a lot, but when you enter the land the Lord your God is giving you, be very careful not to imitate the detestable customs of the nations living there. For example, never sacrifice your son or daughter as a burnt offering. And do not let your people practice fortune telling, or use sorcery, or interpret omens, or engage in witchcraft, or cast spells, or function as mediums or psychics, or call forth the spirits of the dead. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord. It is because the other nations have done these detestable things that the Lord your God will drive them out ahead of you. But you must be blameless before the Lord your God. The nations you are about to displace consult sorcerers and fortune tellers, but the Lord your God forbids you to do such things. And the other verse that I wanted to point out is in Jeremiah 29, verse 8 through 9. This is what the Lord of heaven's armies, the God of Israel, says. Do not let your prophets and fortune tellers who are with you in the land of Babylon trick you. Do not listen to their dreams, because they are telling you lies in my name. I have not sent them, says the Lord. Another translation that I like says, oh, where'd it go? Do not let your prophets and your diviners, I can never say diviners, diviners, who are among you deceive you, and do not listen to the dreams they dream, for it is a lie that they are prophesying to you in their name. I did not send them, declares the Lord. So when I read that verse, because mind you, backstory on my history, on who I am, I was raised as Catholic, more so identify as just a Christian who is trying to learn the Lord on my own and find a true relationship with him, because I just knew God existed. I knew we did these rituals in church and did things, but I never had a real relationship with God. I never read the Bible on my own, which is why I was searching and searching and searching for different things. And to me, it's a common practice to pick and choose what we believe in the Bible, what we don't believe, but I believe the Bible is true. So when I finally, over these last few years, sat down to read the Bible myself, in which there's another Bible verse that I want to point out. 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. Yet she will be saved through childbearing if they continue in faith and love and holiness with self-control. You can read that whole chapter. I think the whole book of Timothy is not that long, but the person that brought me the closest to God was my child. Like, me getting pregnant with her and truly being that lost and not knowing where I was going or what I was doing. I just was like, God, I gotta fall on my knees to you, because I felt like I wasn't ready to be a mom. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just depressed and sad and trying to figure my life out, seeing psychics and mediums, and just didn't know where to go. And God was like, come to me. It was being pregnant with her when I started to read the Bible and to get to know the Lord. And that verse has so many different interpretations. And if you know any other interpretations of that verse, talk to me about it in the comments. I'd love to read it. But it spoke to me like my life, my soul was saved getting pregnant and becoming a mom. It truly brought me closer to God. So that is how my relationship to God formed. I started to do my own Bible studying, like through the Bible app, and I bought my own Bible, and just reading it and getting to know who God is and his character. That's where I'm at. That's how I've grown closer to God. And so then I begin reading this stuff, and I'm like, dang. So you're telling me that these prophets, these psychics are lying to me in your name, and I'm listening to them? So I'm like, if these things are lies, God, then why am I here? Why am I working in this situation where you're telling me that it's a lie and I'm not supposed to be here? It was difficult for me to want to stay and continue doing it, because I'm doing this thing that's taking me away from my child that I don't even want to do. It's one thing to be away from your child, but it's another thing when you're doing something you don't even really want to be, like you don't even feel passionate about. So I'm like, and then I find out, God, you're telling me that these psychics are lying and I shouldn't be listening to them. But now I'm in the situation where they told me I'd be. So now what? So I'm still in that now what phase where I'm trying to figure out what to do, because God is blessing me so much in this now what phase. Me moving home, like I praise God for that. In this whole phase of, again, being saved through childbearing, like I never would have moved back home to live with my dad and like been able to be blessed with the what is it called, the multi-generational living in the same home. Like I love being able to be close to my dad, and because life is just so short and you just never know what is going to happen. And it's just been so many changes in my life and just trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. But like I said, I didn't know where I was going when I got pregnant. I knew I wanted to move out of that apartment. We wanted to buy a condo, but then now we can't afford to do that. I need to start this new job. And so I need to move home. And it was just all these moving pieces. And I thought this is the worst decision ever, moving home, but it ended up being the best decision ever. I have so much help with Mia. I love watching the relationship she has with my dad. It's just been an amazing blessing to be here. So with all that said, I'm still here. I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to figure out how God is going to bless me through this. I mean, not to say that God has already blessed me through this, but I still am just trying to figure out where exactly I'm meant to be, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's my story. That's where I'm at. I will never see another psychic again. I actually kind of forgot to mention, while I was doing that contract, after I saw that other psychic in January that told me I would be in a school, I saw another psychic that was telling me, oh girl, like there's someone in your life that's a witch and she's trying to curse you and blah, blah, blah. Like they were just reaching and reaching, trying to make up stuff. And I feel like God was like blocking it off. Like, okay, we've done enough at this point. Leave her alone. You go on about your business, Abigail, and you going to leave this stuff alone. Because it was just getting to the point where I was like, y'all are not telling me anything. Y'all are just making up stuff about parking tickets and witches. I'm trying to figure out my life and the Lord, but the Lord is not with them. The psychics, unfortunately, he's not. He is in his word. The way, the life, and the truth is his word, and that's it. So I just want to end this video with a prayer that wherever you are in life, that you are able to truly feel the peace and the love of the Holy Spirit, that the Lord truly blesses you where you are, and that you are able to find him and search for him, and you feel his convictions, and that you are able to feel a peace that goes beyond all understanding. And that if you feel lost as well, that God is able to guide you, and just know he is always sitting next to you. He's always holding your hand, and he is always waiting to talk to you at any moment. As a matter of fact, right now, he is with you. He is sitting there with you right now, just sitting there patiently waiting, because he loves you so much, more than anyone in your life has ever loved you. He loves you, and he is just waiting for you to open up and just say hello to him and just have a plain and simple conversation with him. That's it. So I just pray that sometime today you are able to just have a moment of peace with God, and you're able to see a twinkle of his goodness in your day, and to see more and more of his goodness throughout your day, every single day. So yeah, that's just my prayer for you. And I try to say, pray for me while I pray for you. And that is my prayer for you. Pray for me as well. And yeah, if I have any updates on my life changes, I will let you know. As you can see, this is a vlog channel, so you'll be keeping up with my life one way or another as I consistently post. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.